Well, joining us now live from Washington, D.C. is Bob Weiner. He's a National Democratic strategist, former White House spokesman under President Clinton. And Bob Weiner, you've been watching the session this morning,
Yep.
all of it in the National Press
Yep.
Club. How did
Yes.
Hillary Clinton do?
Well, Adam, it came across as they've brought in Huma Abedin for 8 hours, Cheryl Mills, Hillary's other close aide. They're harassing her about Sidney Blumenthal, and now they're harassing her personally for hours and hours on end and coming up with nothing new. And it really just proves that Kevin McCarthy, the Republican #2, was right, that the purpose of this hearing and this entire investigation was to drive down Hillary Clinton's poll numbers because she is going to be the Democratic nominee for president. That's what it's all about. And you know what? When you harass and victimize the Clintons, it backfires, as Ken Starr did when he went after Bill Clinton, and he left office with 70% because he was victimized, the highest in presidential history.
But do you think that looking sort of weary and fed up and even sort of smiling sarcastically at times when we are talking about the death of Americans on public service will go down well with the public?
I think she's handling it cool, calm, and collected. She doesn't want to make news for the Republicans today. Why would she? She wants to tell the truth and accomplish what she did in her first review, which, by the way, 8 other committees did already, so this is completely redundant. But she wants to find a way to improve security. And to the point that there wasn't security, Chris Stevens brought with him the 5 security agents that he was normally under procedure bringing. That's what he had. He knew it. It was his decision to go to Benghazi knowing that it was a risky situation. And he chose to do it, as Hillary pointed out today, and he had with him the 5 security agents. Then when the events happened, this horrible event, which, by the way, was somewhat motivated by the movie, the propaganda movie. As the New York Times said, it was the overlay under which in Khartoum and Cairo there were other demonstrations that motivated, and the arrested guy said that it was part of his motivation. But when this all happened, then she called the White House. She called the Secretary of Defense. She called the CIA director. She spent the next hours and hours and hours doing nothing but completely immersed in trying to get help for those guys. And DOD said, the Department of Defense said, that it was logistically impossible to get there. So she did everything that she could.
Do you think there was a failure, though, in American security, or do we have to just accept that it was one of those things?
Well, there are 270 outposts. Don't forget, this was an outpost. It wasn't the main embassy. It was a CIA outpost. And the CIA was also responsible for providing security. So it was a failure. There's no question it was a failure. But so was Lebanon, which was pointed out today, where 258 Americans died. And they didn't attack Reagan because Lebanon had some Americans killed by nut terrorists. They didn't attack George Bush because 3,000 Americans were attacked by nut terrorists. And Donald Trump is right. That happened on George Bush's watch. You don't attack the person where the nuts go after your people. You try to improve security for the future. And that's what Hillary has tried to do in every which way possible.
Do you think this is now going to be the high water mark and this will go away? Or are the American people going to hear lots more about Benghazi and indeed Hillary Clinton's private email account over the next year?
Well, you know, in terms of her private emails, Adam, I gotta say, you know, the head of the CIA, the current head, was hacked by a high school student who called Verizon or Comcast and asked what the password was so that he could get in, and he wanted to change it, and they gave it to him. This was a mid-level nothing kid who called up, and he did the same thing to the Homeland Security director. So Hillary's emails were more secure through Bill Clinton, former President Bill Clinton's email server, than they are by Verizon or Comcast or these other private methodologies. Now, will we hear more? Chairman Gowdy today said that he's calling 20 more witnesses. So it's not enough that this hearing has lasted longer than Watergate, than Pearl Harbor, than 9/11, than Katrina. It's going to go longer. It's already gone 17 months and $5 million. So this is an outrage. This is a sham. This is nothing but what Kevin McCarthy, the House #2, said was a way to drive Hillary Clinton's poll numbers down, and it will backfire.
But you still think it's going to be Hillary Clinton as the Democratic nominee and the next president?
I think it's Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump, and I think that's going to be fascinating. And Trump was right, by the way, Adam. Trump was right that 9/11 happened on George Bush's watch, despite the memo that said bin Laden to attack with planes as weapons against big buildings that are icons in America. There was a memo a month earlier that George Bush ignored. So this is going to be fun.
Okay, Bobby, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
You too, Adam.